Most weight loss plans are one size fits all, not taking into account each person's individual needs. Noom is here to change that. Noom Weight uses psychology. That's why they say losing weight starts with your brain. But it also takes into account your unique biological factors, which also affect weight loss success. The program helps you understand the science behind your eating choices and why you have cravings. Everyone's journey is different, so your daily lessons are personalized to you and your goals. One of the great things about Noom is that it's nourishing instead of restrictive. They focus on progress instead of perfection. You don't have to give up carbs, or anything for that matter. Have cravings? Food FOMO? Noom can help you lose weight while still enjoying your favorite foods. To date, Noom has helped more than 5.2 million people lose weight. Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. Let me shut that off there. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. And this show is brought to you by CartKing.com. It's 877-986-7771. People starting to memorize that number yet? 877-986-7771. That's cart-king.com. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Now, you must have thought about it by now because I've been talking about this every week, like 4 or 5 times a show. So you've been thinking about it, right? Now, perhaps a current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Somebody needs to just go out there and buy one of these carts. I'd say you shut me up on one of these kiosks. Now, maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. CartKing.com. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs, depending on your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail, coffee, food, and carts and kiosks that money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. From large heated and secure outdoor retail food or coffee kiosks to smaller indoor mobile coffee carts and stations and kiosks. CartKing.com builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the designs, the dozens of designs on the website. Check out the website at cart-king.com. You go to the website, you figure out what kind of business you want to be in, what applies to your business. They'll custom build it for you. They'll custom ship it for you. Ship it worldwide. CartKing.com, 877-986-7771. When you call them up, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you from the Opperman Report, and that's how you get a good deal. And we get like 90% off. Right? Oh, God, they're going to sue me one day. Cart-king.com. Don't forget to Ed Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting. You can find my website at emailrevealer.com if you need an asset search, an adoption investigation, a locate, online infidelity investigation, emailrevealer.com. Okay, well, what's going on? Let's see. Tomorrow, my plan for tomorrow is, because I couldn't book enough guests this week, I can't be honest with you. I had trouble. I've been so exhausted, you have no idea. I haven't eaten all day long. As soon as this show is over, I'm going to run out and get me a nice big bottle of potato juice and maybe some sushi or something like that. I like to eat that squid, that squid salad and that sushi. I love that stuff. So the plan is tomorrow. Was talking to you about the election race of Danny Tarkanian. His father was that big shot down here in town. I think he was a coach or something like that. Owns a couple of basketball centers. My daughters play basketball over there. Anyway, so he was running for Senate office in CD3, Congressional District 3, against Susie Lee. He's a Republican. She was a Democrat. And there's been a lot of allegations around this guy of, shady business dealings and stuff like that. And he actually filed a lawsuit, a defamation lawsuit, and I believe he won that. But the allegations came up once again. And then I had some allegations of my own. I'm not afraid to get sued. I had some allegations of my own because Amy Tarkanian, his wife, who was formerly the chairman of the GOP here, I think in Clark County, was retweeting Laura Loomer. And Laura Loomer is a popular character here in Nevada, because she had that crackpot theory about the October 1 shooting. And she had a separate crackpot theory about how Democrats were sending themselves bombs. And Danny Tarkanian's wife, Amy, was retweeting this tweet. So I confronted her about it and answered some questions. We had a little back and forth there in a Nevada Politics Facebook group. And so at her concession speech, the quote is, "Must see, Danny Tarkanian's wife, Amy, gives emotional speech after her husband was defeated by Democrat Susie Lee in CD3 race." And it is some speech, man, where she's basically, telling Trump, you better do something about this. You better do something because we were loyal. And we're going to sue this one. We're going to sue that one. Oh, my goodness. And so I posted it on my Facebook. And since then, it's gotten like 80,000 views. So, not to end there, when you're having fun, might as well keep going. We put it in the members section so you can actually see the video. And I'm going to play the audio for you tomorrow night. That's my plan. And I'm going to play some audio, too, for you of Sandra Good, one of the Manson family murderers, who had a similar speech where she starts talking about how the state of California is going to burn to the ground because they convicted Charlie Manson. Thanks to our good friend Josh Brookshire. So tomorrow then I'll be playing that stuff and doing a little bit of talking for you. And then my plan is we're going to do this live. And I'm going to take some live phone calls. So if you've ever had a question you want to ask or a comment, you want to curse me out, you want to tell me I'm wrong about the October shooting, you want to tell me I'm wrong about QAnon, I welcome your calls, You can, maybe I'll learn something, right? Maybe I'll learn something. Could be a first tomorrow, a first for the Opera Report. Ed Opperman learned something. And so I'll be taking phone calls live tomorrow night. So if you have something you want to call in and say to me or ask me something, a little topic or whatever, we're going to do that. Won't that be fun? Hey, so, God, like I said, I haven't eaten, man. I'm exhausted. I'm going to go get some potato juice when I get out of here. I was thinking before, when I used to have the Bieber Company back on Staten Island, and I would work till late into the night, I would leave there. Sometimes I would go out, actually go get a bottle of Remy Martin and drink half the bottle. But what I would do is I'd go to this deli almost every night around the corner from my house, and I'd go in there, and there'd be a guy working behind a deli counter, and then the girl at the cashier. And I remember there's this young guy, Italian kid, handsome kid, and this pretty girl working behind the counter there. And I'd go in there every night, my suit and tie, and I'd get a little bit of food to take home. I'd get some beer, perhaps, a sandwich or something. The guy behind the deli counter would make me a sandwich, or I'd get cold cuts, a piece of chicken, whatever, and some salad. And I remember one night going in there, and I was just so tired, and I was so hungry. And in my head, I was thinking, I want something like a potato, like a baked potato with maybe like a twice baked potato with some cheese in there and some bacon bits on top of it. I just want a potato, And so the kid comes around the counter. Hey, what can I get for you, buddy? What do you have tonight? Pal, what's going to be, boss? And I looked at him. I was just so tired and I was so weak. And I just looked up at him. And my mind, I had a brain fart. And I just said, potato. And he looked at me like, what, was crazy? And I wanted to say to him, I want something like a potato. I just want something filling. Can you make a suggestion? But I couldn't even get that out. I just said it again. I went, potato. And he just breaks out cracking up. And the girl at the cash register, she's cracking up too. But I compose myself and I explained to him that, I was just so exhausted. I just wanted some kind of potato. But that's how I feel tonight. Just exhausted and really wiped out, man. Another day, another miserable day, another miserable dollar. I give you 7 hours of content each week, and last week we made about $30 for the whole week off of this show. That's not even $5 an hour. And when you consider all the work prepping and all the stuff, all the work that Shane does, all the work we do here on the show. So if you want to support the show, you go to our members section at OppermanReport.com. I have some new content up in there. I just did an interview with Pierce Redmond that you can find in our members section. These new videos we just put in there. Some other documents, too. Shane was telling me he put up there. I sent them to him this week. And there's a lot of good stuff in there. So thank you so much. OppermanReport.com. Become a member, or you contact me directly. I'll give you a discount, 13 months for $65. Hey, does anybody know a program out there, an organization that helps you fill out the forms for SSDI? I got a client right now who definitely she'll qualify for it right away, but I run into so many people who, they qualify for it for sure, and they're just in these dire straits in their life and down on their luck, and if I could just help them out, if I can get a little system down, helping people out with that would be a good. If you know an organization out there that helps that kind of thing. So, name of tonight's show is another couple of guys with guns. How's that? Another couple of guys with guns. So I was going to the dentist. Oh, my God, I had like 7 visits because I went to the dental school to get one of those free dental cleanings, because I need that deep cleaning. I got the gum disease, And so I was sitting there, and, the last visit, I guess it was Wednesday. And I was sitting there thinking, this is almost over. But then I started thinking, hey, what if some disgruntled dental student, got kicked out of the program? Because, what happened was they have a problem where people sign up and then they don't show up for their dental appointment. And then the kids who are taking the class, they fail the class because they don't have people to work on. So I was sitting there and I started thinking, what if a disgruntled student who just got failed comes back with a gun and does one of these workplace shootings and starts shooting the place up? And I started thinking, this is a serious concern. Maybe I should look. And plus, too, it's really tricky in that building. When you come in and they take you over to your little dental chair there, you go through these winding hallways with unmarked doors, and it's kind of tricky getting in and out. And you can't even go to the bathroom by yourself. The girl has to take you there back and forth because it's so confusing. So I says, what? A guy comes in here with a gun. I couldn't even find my way out of here. What am I going to do? My goodness. What'll I do? Well, shoot me up with some more Novocaine. That's what we'll do. Oh, God, what a miserable time that is, man. So, and it was right that same night that we had that shooting in California at that country western bar. Right? Now, one question I got for you is, I'm watching this thing on the news. Why did all those guys have their shirts off? What was that about? There's all these guys in this country western bar. There's a shooting going on. There's a little tussle, whatever. But somehow they just take their shirts off. And it was a cold night. Some people said, maybe they were using their shirts to as bandages, for people who were shot, gunshot wounds or whatever. I don't know, man. I don't know. It seems weird to me. If anybody out there knows, you want to call in tomorrow and explain that to me, I would welcome that. I don't want to hear crazy theories. But, I was thinking, though, you got to admit, you never see one of those mass shootings at, like, the gun range. You think that would be a likely spot, a popular gun range. There's a gun in there. Everybody got guns. How come there's never any of these mass shootings over there? Or you never see them, like, at an NRA convention. Someone goes down to an NRA convention or something like that and shoots up the place. It's always like a school or a church or an office building or something like that, Now, and I'm not one of those people who subscribes to this theory that these are false flags, that these are crisis actors, and that there's a plan that they do these events in order to pass laws to take away our guns. And the reason why I don't think that is because, the gun manufacturers are part of the ruling elite. They are part of the 1%. And if they just wanted, if the plan of the ruling elite was to take away our guns, the first thing they would do is these companies would just stop manufacturing guns and stop manufacturing ammunition. And if anything, after these events, there's more gun sales, not less gun sales. So I don't subscribe to that popular theory you hear on Alex Jones and some of these other shows and websites and stuff like that have that theory. I don't buy into that whatsoever. And a lot of people will hear me say that and think that I don't support the Second Amendment. Somehow I'm anti-gun and I'm anti-gun rights, and which couldn't be farther from the truth. I have no problem with guns. I have no problem getting guns or fake ID or passports or drugs or anything I want to get. I can get anything I want. And whatever law they would pass, I couldn't care what law they passed. If I wanted a gun or a certain kind of gun, I would have that gun. I would carry that gun. I would drive with it in my car. I would do whatever I wanted. I have no concerns about that for some reason. I don't know. It's just something the way I've always lived. I also say that, by the way, too, the guy who did this shooting here at this bar, this country western bar there in California, and what was it? Torrey Pines, Sherman Oaks, something like that. He was a ex-military guy. Okay, a white guy, ex-military. He wasn't a Muslim. He wasn't a terrorist. He wasn't a caravan guy, right? He wasn't throwing a rock from a caravan, And then whenever he was an former military. I think a Marine, And whenever we have these shootings at schools, you'll always see people who will say, well, what we should do is we should have our veterans. Oh, we have so many veterans who would be proud to patrol schools. In fact, they would even do it for free. They would just to protect our children when one of these gunmen come in. So here's a veteran. Is this the guy you want to put in a school with a gun? Think about it. If we start arming teachers or people or putting cops or armed cops in schools, the first people that are going to get shot are kids. And they're going to come up with a reason why they can justify it. The kid made a furtive movement, whatever. The kid had a weapon. Maybe a kid with a weapon. So we can't. I don't want my kid getting shot in school. I mean, that's not a solution to this kind of problem. Now, I'm going to tell you, I don't know what the solution is. But I know what the solutions aren't. I know what solutions aren't going to work. Now, another thing they were saying is that, maybe if the doorman, because the cop did show up. A cop showed up. A cop got killed at this mass shooting at this bar. And so some people says, well, if the doorman had been armed, because the doorman was unarmed. And if he had been armed, he could have stopped him right there at the door. Well, I don't buy that either, because, once again, I have no desire to do one of these mass shootings, and people are probably surprised about that because I do have a crazy temper and I'm kind of a wild guy. But I have no desire to go do one of these mass shootings, or shoot up a school, or shoot up a bar, or any kind of thing. Shoot up any place. Go up in a tower and start shooting people. I have no desire to do that. So whether guns are available to me or not, I'm not going to go do that kind of crime. I'm not going to go do that kind of activity. So it's not the lack of my access to weapons that prevents me from doing that. There's something else in my heart and my soul and my mind that prevents my wellness, my mental health, my faith in God, or whatever it is that prevents me from wanting that does not place that desire in my heart to go out and shoot people up. So whether I have access to guns or not, that's not the issue. Okay? And even if, let's say I did have that desire to do that. I'm on a mission. I got to go into a building and shoot up someone in that building. Okay? Well, I'm getting paid a lot of money to do it, whatever the reason is, right? And I decide I'm going to take on that job. Having a cop at the front door, that's not going to stop me. If I'm ready to go in there, okay, and I'm ready for combat, okay, another guy with a gun It's not going to stop me. And I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. I tell the story quite a bit, that when we were back in the old days down there at the Mexican border, down in Arizona and stuff like that, doing our fun stuff down there, when we would be out in the middle of the desert, one night we were driving along, me and my buddy, down there by Vail, Arizona, and we were driving in a car, pitch black. We're both wearing sunglasses. And I've got a bag in my lap. Not in my lap. It was at my feet. I had a duffel bag with a whole bunch of cash in there and a .357 Magnum revolver sitting on top of that. And I had a beer can in my hand. I was drinking a beer. Well, you're driving out there. It's the middle of nowhere. This is back in the 80s, Different time, different place. Lawless time. And we get pulled over by the Border Patrol. Pulls us over. Okay, and these two guys, they come up to the windows, they look in here, and they see us, they see me, they had to see the gun, they had to see the beer, they saw the sunglasses, we know that, and they just said, okay, fellas, we're just looking for Mexicans, we're on our way, okay, because when you're out there, all right, these are just another couple of guys with guns. Cops show up, they're just another couple of guys with guns. We got our guns, they got their guns, we got a truce. They don't want any problem, we don't want any problem. So it's the same thing, man. You're in a combat situation. You're going to be going into a nightclub or whatever. It doesn't matter if the guy at the door has a gun, is armed. You're going to go right through him. You got to jump on him anyway. So that's not a solution to all this. Okay? And also, too, I can go back and I can tell you, I've told people the story many times about when I pulled a gun on those cops in my apartment back on Staten Island. Okay? And again, the same kind of thing. I was fighting with my girlfriend. Cops come to the door. They thought that I had somebody in the house I was killing. I was fighting with her over the phone. And I had a gun on me, they saw I had the gun, they turned around and left. Another couple of guys with guns. Okay? And you can see this for yourself, by the way. This isn't something routine. This is just an Ed Opperman's the most toughest guy in the world. If you watch this show, this live PD thing that's taking over the nation here, every now and then you see them, they pull over these real serious gangbangers that are real professionals, and They cut away to someone, they're taking on some marijuana, people driving with their marijuana in their car and they're arresting them. And then they go back to the gangbangers and say, well, we let them go. Okay? And that's because there's a lot of professional talk back and forth between these professional criminals and these cops saying, hey, do you know so-and-so? Hey, do you know so-and-so? Hey, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Because somewhere down the line, someone gets an envelope every week. Okay? So that these people can continue their business. And that's why they get let go. There's another couple of guys with guns. Okay, let's take a little commercial break here. Okay. Oops, you know what? I'm not prepared to do a commercial because, oh, yes, I am. I am prepared. Okay, let me set this up over here, and then we'll get right into a little commercial break, and we'll be right back after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. The Opperman Report is brought to you by SubhashTechnosis.com. Subhash Technosis is a search engine optimization and website design company. They're located in India, so you're going to save a lot of money and get top quality service. They offer all sorts of business process outsourcing, data entry, banking BPO services, recruitment process outsourcing, software testing, offshoring, research network, customer care, press release, content writing and distribution, and much, much more. Now, you can get a hold of Subhash Technosis by email at info@subhashtechnosis.com. Their website is www.subhashtechnosis.com, and their Skype is ANUSHASUBASH. Check out CartKing.com, 877-986-7771. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services, like let's say you own an office building or a warehouse. Put one of these carts there in the lobby. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee and food carts and kiosks money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. From large, heated, and secure outdoor retail or food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee kiosks or coffee stations, coffee carts, CartKing.com designs and builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on the website, CartKing.com. Please visit today at CartKing.com or just call them at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you and you get a good deal. Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by EmailRevealer.com. You can go to EmailRevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You also do all the kind of different services for you. Online dating service investigations called an online infidelity investigation. And that's where you give us your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's email address, and we trace it back to their online dating websites, and we return a list of all the dating sites that email is registered to. We can expand on that investigation and trace it back to porn sites, escort service sites, swinger sites, gambling websites, and even prescription drug websites, and all kinds of digital forensics, computer and cell phone digital forensics, where we can recover deleted content from an email or a hard drive and produce a report for you that you can use in court. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. Okay. Shut this off here. Welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. Show's brought to you by emailrevealer.com. Very eventful week this week here. By the way, too, there was another shooting in that yoga shooting. Remember that yoga studio shooting? That guy was one of those incels. Did you know that? These involuntary celibates. I'm still trying to get a guest on to represent those folks, but I guess they're too busy. They're not going out on dates or anything like that. But I guess they're a little too busy, shooting people up or supporting Trump. Every one of those incels, by the way, are Trump supporters. That should tell you something. Okay? Anyway, so that's very little, and they don't want to talk about that as a motive, What a fascinating phenomenon going on in our time. We've always had these kind of antisocial kinds of asexual nerd types, and here we have them lashing out, shooting people up, and driving trucks into crowds, and the news not reporting on it, how does that factor into, by the way, these false flag Alex Jones theories, to take away guns, that they're using incels? It just doesn't, not quite. And also, too, some of these guys use trucks, too. So, again. So, we had right after the midterm elections, by the way, when Trump makes a speech, he called it the midtown and midterm elections. I love that guy. Anyway, but right after this, man, all hell's breaking loose. He fires Sessions. By the way, Sessions sent in a resignation letter that was undated. Now, how that works is, he's presented that letter, months ago, possibly. And Trump had in his possession this resignation letter that he could pull out whenever he wanted to. Sometimes you'll go to all your employees and say, I want a resignation letter from everybody. I want to have it on file to use it when I want to get rid of you. And then he appoints this guy, Whitaker, to be the temporary head of the Department of Justice. While at the same time, out of the chain of command, it should be Rod Rosenstein who would step in there. And now Whitaker took over the Mueller investigation. Now, I'm not concerned with that because even if Trump were just to go all full-blown Saturday Night Massacre, there's enough charges that can be filed in New York State that I believe this problem would be dealt with. Now, I was thinking, though, because this popular theory that you hear repeated over and over and over again all day long on right-wing talk radio, these guys, Sean Hannity and Wayne Allen Root, and it's going on and on, the same thing every day. And the theory is that Trump's an outsider, and he's going to drain the swamp, and the deep state has been conspiring since before the election to take down Trump, rig the election, and frame Trump, right? And that Trump's been cleaning house of the FBI and the DOJ, is getting rid of these guys like Strzok and Lisa Page and Comey and this whole long list of people. You see QAnon will have a whole list of people forced to resign, power taken away, fired, blah, blah, blah. There's all this because Trump is draining the swamp of these deep state operatives and the FBI, and also to the CIA is involved, and Brennan's involved, and the media's involved. Everyone's all involved in his big giant plot to take down Trump. And the way this plot works, okay, is that the plot works. The idea is that they came up with a scheme to frame Trump with Russian collusion. Now, at the time they came up with this scheme and this is based on a phony, dodgy dossier by Christopher Steele and a FISA warrant against Carter Page, who has his own business going on. Anyway, so this whole theory is that they were going to frame Trump with Russian collusion. Okay? And then there's another theory that, and then again, I don't know what happened to this theory now, because the QAnon group has a theory that Sessions all along has been working with Trump secretly, and Mueller's working with Trump secretly, and there are about to be mass arrests, and people sent to Gitmo and military tribunals, and Hillary's going to get arrested, and Obama's going to get arrested, and everything we see is a big trick, and Sessions and Mueller are really on Trump's side, and the investigation is really against Hillary. That's a whole bizarre theory that some people have to seriously believe. But the people like Hannity were a step away from these kind of nuts, still nutty themselves, but a step away. People like Hannity and Wayne Allen Root and all these people you hear, all day long. Their theory is that there's this deep state coup using the Russian collusion to take down Trump. They're framing him with Russian collusion. And we have texts between Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, and they have an affair, and they talk about insurance policies, and it all makes sense. But the problem is with that theory is, first of all, way back then, they didn't know about Roger Stone meeting with the hacker. They didn't know about Roger Stone having meetings and conversations with the WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. They didn't know about Julian Assange sending messages to Trump Jr. talking about, hey, release your tax returns through me, and I want an appointment. I want to be able to ambassador to Australia. All these conspirators had no idea about any of that. We know they didn't because it's not in their texts and emails going back and forth. All the stuff they're using to convict him, we're not seeing any of that stuff in there. They didn't know about this meeting at Trump Tower about the adoptions and all that. None of that. They didn't know about this stuff back then. So they had a plan to frame him with Russian collusion, and then coincidentally all this stuff came up? Is that what we're going to believe? And that this whole big plot, the FBI, the media, the CIA, we're all involved in it. And not that Trump's a crooked, incompetent, and a pervert. Oh, no. He's some kind of good guy, despite everything we know about his character. No, he's a hero, and all these other characters are framing him. And they just got lucky that these other things just came out. This is Trump Tower meeting, and all this stuff just happened to fall into place for them. They got lucky with that. But in the end, Trump's going to round everybody up, and there's going to be mass arrests, and then sealed indictments going to be unsealed, and all this stuff's going to happen. If this were true, the only way Trump and his team found out about this plot to take him down was because the plotters are investigating him publicly. Otherwise, it's not the other way around, where he has an investigation and he's uncovering this plot. No, these are people with an investigation against him, and he's counterattacking their investigation. His defense is that I'm being set up, that I'm being framed by these people. It's not the other way around where he says, hey, hey, there's a plot to take me down, and here it is, look at it. No, it's, hey, I'm under investigation, but they're all framing me. Even though they didn't know at the time all this stuff. And he would never know that they were framing him unless they were doing this investigation of him. That's how he found out that they're framing him. Do you follow what I'm saying here? And at the same time, he doesn't want to cooperate with their investigation. He's not willing to be interviewed by Mueller. He's fighting that. They want written down questions, all this stuff like that. None of that makes sense. None of that is logical. And call me up tomorrow and explain to me how that works. How there's this big plot to take him down, but coincidentally, all these other things we find out later on, all these people plead guilty. Flynn, Papadopoulos, who's the other guy? Manafort. What's his name? Stone just admitted, yeah, I met with the hacker. Yeah, he wanted $2 million for the emails. So we got all that. And Trump's not the one leading this investigation. He's just making accusations against the people investigating him. It's totally ass backwards. This bizarre theory is totally ass backwards. Okay. Let's see what's coming up next here. Well, there's a fascinating report out. There was a whole big story, last week right before the election, the midterm elections, or the midtown elections, as you like to call them. That's the caravan, the invasion, right? The invasion coming up. And by the way, the guy who sent those bombs, that guy, the mail bomber, he used the same phrase, man. The Trump used it. We're being invaded. Was it him? Oh, no, that was another guy. Powers. What did Powers do? Powers was just shot something up, but what did he do? He was another guy that they're shooting things up. He might have been the incel guy. Who knows, man? I can't even keep track of all this stuff anymore. But it comes out. Let me see if I could find exactly who this is that came out with this report. The military that was sent down to the border down there to prevent this invasion caravan came out with a tactical report of how they were going to, a PowerPoint of how they were, training their troops, how they were deploying their troops down there, and what their concerns were. And in this official PowerPoint report that they conducted, they say in their own report, and I posted a copy of it to the my Facebook page, they say in there that they're not concerned about any combat or conflict with the caravan people, with the refugees. They're not concerned about that. But what they are concerned about is these 3%er militiamen that are coming down to the border, because they says, you know what? When we've dealt with these people down there at the border before, they've stolen our equipment. They've stolen our supplies. These patriots, these 3%er patriots that are going down there to defend our border from these refugees, who are possibly rock-throwing refugees, who are going to be shot on sight by, according to Mr. Trump. But then when the Joint Chief of Staff came out, he says, oh, no, we're not going to be engaging with these refugees whatsoever. We have no intention to engage with these refugees, no matter what the president says. And then when they have their deployment instructions there, they're being told, well, don't worry about the refugees. Worry about these 3%ers because they steal all our equipment. How do you like that? It's so freaking hysterical that when you see these stories in the news, but when you actually look into them and see what's really going on, man, it's like, it's all crap. Another one was, I think I talked about it last week, but this other one, this news story that came out that was being plastered all over the place, was that accuser, Kavanaugh accuser, admits she made it all up. So everybody turns around and says, oh, look at that. You see that? Baisley Ford, she made it all up. It was in this article. It had nothing to do with her. It had nothing to do with any of these known accusers who did affidavits and testified before Congress and gave statements. None of those people. They're talking about that article is about someone who sent an anonymous letter to Congress and then later on admitted they made it up. Nobody even knows about that letter. Okay, that has nothing to do with any of the accusers that are publicly in the paper, any of that kind of stuff. It's a totally different accuser, an anonymous accuser who admitted that she made it up. Admitted that her accusation was fake. All right, let's take a little commercial break here, and we'll be right back after this. What am I going to talk about after this? I got a whole nother topic here for you, and we'll be right back after these messages.
And now a word from our sponsors. The Opperman Report is brought to you by SubhashTechnosis.com. Subash Technosis is a search engine optimization and website design company. They're located in India, so you're going to save a lot of money and get top quality service. They offer all sorts of business process outsourcing, data entry, banking BPO services, recruitment process outsourcing, software testing, offshoring, research network, customer care, press release, content writing and distribution, and much, much more. Now, you can get a hold of Subash Technosis by email at info@subashtechnosis.com. Their website is www.subashtechnosis.com, and their Skype is ANUSHASUBASH. Check out CartKing.com, 877-986-7771. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services, like let's say you own an office building or a warehouse. Put one of these carts there in the lobby. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee and food carts and kiosks money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. From large, heated, and secure outdoor retail or food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee kiosks or coffee stations, coffee carts, CartKing.com designs and builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on the website, CartKing.com. Please visit today at CartKing.com or just call them at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you and you get a good deal. Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You also do all the kind of different services for you. Online dating service investigations called an online infidelity investigation. And that's where you give us your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's email address, and we trace it back to their online dating websites, and we return a list of all the dating sites that email is registered to. We can expand on that investigation and trace it back to porn sites, escort service sites, swinger sites, gambling websites, and even prescription drug websites, and all kinds of digital forensics, computer and cell phone digital forensics, where we can recover deleted content from an email or a hard drive and produce a report for you that you can use in court. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. Oh, boy. A lot of times I'll do a show like this. I dread getting up tomorrow because when the shows go up on YouTube, all these YouTube fans, they don't understand what I'm talking about, and they just leave these horrible, insulting comments, and then you have this crew of stalkers who create new YouTube accounts each week. They got no followers. They're just brand new accounts and pretty much say the same thing every week. These comments. I'm tempted to just turn the comments off. But one of the comments I get all the time is that, well, Ed Opperman is a Democrat. He's just a Democrat. He's a Trump hater. And he's just spewing Democrat talking points. Now, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not even a liberal. Okay, I'm very conservative. And you heard me talking about the Second Amendment. I said give everybody guns. I don't care. Take away all gun laws. I don't give a damn about that. Okay, the gun laws. I love these people who say that. Let's not get into that. Okay. Abortion. I'm not in favor of abortion. These other sexual perversions and stuff like that. I'm not into that kind of stuff. I'm certainly not for a bloated defense budget. I would cut that 90% down. But I'm also a socialist. Okay, I believe in socialism, economic socialism, where the workers benefit from the fruit of their labor, 100%. That there's no one leeching off them, no stockholders, no owners, leeching off the back of the workers. If you want to eat, you work. It's in the Bible. Now, so when people say to me, well, Ed Opperman is a Democrat, no. The Democrats are capitalists. Just like the Republicans are capitalists. They are both on your team. Don't pin them on me. Don't try and attach them to me, especially people like Hillary and Obama. Give me a break. And then you say, well, what about Bernie's a socialist with caucuses with Democrats, and Ocasio-Cortez, she's a socialist. No, these people aren't socialists. They have some kind of a new fangled theory of, free healthcare and free college. But that really is not what socialism is. Socialism is where the workers control the factory, or the state will own the factory. And that there's no stockholders who can amass all this wealth without working. Now, one of the things I talk about all the time is nationalizing the oil industry in this country. So when people say to you, well, Ed, you want to give away free medical care, which I firmly believe in, if we're able to fund a military budget to prevent the Chinese and the Russians from coming here and shooting us, okay, in order to save our lives and protect our lives and our way of life, we should be equally concerned with illness and disease and addiction and mental illness, cancer, which is a threat to your life, just like a terrorist or a Russian or a Chinese is a threat to your life, allegedly. So we should be putting the same amount of effort and funding into protecting your life as we claim that we have a big military budget to defend your life, which we obviously don't need the big military, but whatever. So one of the things I always say, well, how do we pay for these things? How do we pay for an education? How do we pay for mental health care? To treat addictions and to treat illness and bad diet and all these kind of things. How do we pay for that? That's what they always say. No one ever says, how do we pay for that military budget? How do we pay to go to war? How do we pay for that? But when it comes to something that's going to benefit you and me, they say, well, how are you going to pay for that, Ed? Well, I'll tell you how we're going to pay for that. And I've always said, well, what we do is we nationalize the oil industry. And I always said, well, there's other countries who nationalized their oil industry, for example, Venezuela, and gasoline was 10 cents a gallon. In Kuwait, they have nationalized the oil industry, and gasoline is free. People just drive up and fill up their tank. It's free. Right? But in America, the oil industry is owned by private citizens and corporations, public corporations. And even though, in order for them in Oklahoma and Texas and Pennsylvania and all these places, in order for them to create the gasoline, they have to drill into the ground, into the earth, into the the country of the United States of America, right? And, suck up that oil and refine it and sell it. So they're taking a natural resource that's also a national resource, and they take this oil that's under your feet and my feet equally, and somehow they get to own it. Okay? And then they sell it back to us. Now, how is that correct? How is that fair? That they're going to take a resource that belongs to all of us, pump it out of the ground under my feet, and sell it back to all of us. And in the United States, the oil industry is a $200 billion a year in profits. Right? So I said, why don't we nationalize the oil industry? And that money would go to the $200 billion is a lot of profit, right? It could go to fund education and healthcare and all kinds of things. And it could be done in different ways where the price of gasoline is drastically reduced, and that would spur the economy and all this kind of stuff. Or it could just be put into a fund, to pay for these kind of things. So I started looking into this, and I says, well, how many other countries out there have a national oil industry or is privately controlled? And I figured, it's probably about, 40% out there are national oil industries and the rest are privately controlled. 40, 60, I figured. No. You know what I found out this week? Okay, and by the way, it's very hard to find out these kind of things because this is a big business. There's a lot of money involved in this. And they want to keep this quiet, okay? And you're not going to find anybody else out there talking about this kind of stuff because either they can't figure it out or, they're paid off. 75% of global oil production is controlled by national oil companies. 75%. And national oil companies control 90% of all proven oil reserves. We are in the minority. The United States of America is in the extreme minority of countries that do not benefit from their natural resource and their national resource. That is oil, a natural resource that is under the ground of our country. We're one of the only countries on the planet that we don't all share in that benefit from that resource. That a tiny fraction of our population is cashing in on that $200 billion a year in profit. Now that's $200 billion a year in profit. And I started saying, I started doing some math, and I divided $200 billion by 350 months. Says, well, how much do we all get by this? And that figure is bogus. There's no way they're only making $200 billion a year. It's got to be like $800 billion a year, because I know how much I pay on gas and oil and heating and my gas, natural gas. No way. But when you're making $200 billion a year and you're filling out your tax return, are you concerned with the IRS auditing you or arguing with you what you put down on your tax return? And just think, too, that $200 billion a year, right? How much money, okay, in that whole pie there goes to paying lobbyists and who knows what they're writing off as expenses, but we know they're writing off lobbyists. And by the way, too, these oil industries too, they pay no tax. They also they get subsidies. They get all kinds of government benefits. All that gets wiped out. So we're not looking at $200 billion a year. We're looking more like $800 billion a year that we all get to cut up. that could go toward health care, that could go toward education, roads, bridges, jobs. But instead, that money's going to a very, very, very small percent of the population that usually didn't even buy that stock. They inherited that stock through inheritance. And I'm going to do a whole show about inheritance tax, too, by the way, too, as well in the future. But for now, today, I just want to look into this business with the oil industry, man. Let's see how we're doing on time. Damn, we're out of time. Oh, boy. Yeah, we're out of time. So, this is obscene, and it's something that's very unique to the United States, that we don't have a nationalized oil industry, that we allow profiteers basically who inherited this stock and this ownership into these companies to profit off of $200 billion of a resource that's under my feet and your feet, that we should all own equally. There's no reason, and 90% of the country's proven oil reserves are controlled by states, not by individuals. We're the only one that are doing this. And I don't know what other countries are doing. It's probably but we're like one of the only few doing it. Very hard to look up these statistics too, man, because they like keeping all this money and keeping you and me in poverty. All right. If you enjoyed today's show, once again, I thank you for listening. Check out OppermanReport.com. That's where we have our members section. And I haven't done a video lately where I just do a video that goes out for, no, not a video, but a show that goes on iHeart and iTunes and Spreaker where it says, hey man, we need money to keep the show going. I haven't done one of those lately because so many people complaining. But trust me, that doesn't mean the need is not there. And the amount of donations and subscriptions are way, way, way down. It's so... I'm really 2 months behind on my rent, my expenses here. So, I don't know. We're up against the wall here, you know what I mean? Keeping the show on the air and keeping all this work going. I'm past the point of exhaustion right now. I think you can kind of tell I'm kind of pretty much beat up here and kind of done. And I'm wondering, too, how much my efforts here are just falling on deaf ears. Either because, so many people are just brainwashed, into patriotism and this bizarre, gullible, Trump supporters with these bizarre, gullible theories. And I'm up against other hosts and shows and programs and stuff like that are getting huge funding by the Mercers and the Koch brothers and all this kind of stuff that I can't compete with them. So I'm working for you, I'm working for you. I think you like my work. I know a lot of people tune in week after week after week. I know that. But we need the support. So if you can go to OppermanReport.com and just kick us in a few bucks, or become an advertiser, or if you want to become a member in the members section, there's new content going up today. I just did an interview with Pierce Redmond I was just interviewed by. And there's a new hour that just went up there. So we're always updating the members section for you. And if I just had more funding and more time to take a break and not scrambling around doing all this work all the time, I could get you more guests and more shows for the members section too as well. All this takes funding. So once again, thank you so much. I really do enjoy doing the best I can for you here and sticking my neck out for you. But I definitely do need the support as well. So if you can help us out here and chip in a few bucks once in a while, that would be a great blessing for us here. Thank you so much. Coming up next is Pierce Redmond.